Hey everybody, I'm David.
I'm Sheri.
And one of the most asked videos that people have said, would you make a video, is how do you make a winter bee kind? And so Sheri and I are in our kitchen and we're going to show you guys all of the little details of making your own winter bee kind.
Yeah, well, candy boards have been around for decades
They
and
have.
decades and decades.
Probably well over a century.
Oh, it's been a long, long, long time. And I think
Yes.
we've made them here for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Or more than that.
Yep.
And the bees love them.
They do love them.
And it
Yeah.
really works well for them.
And so we sell two types. One is a candy board that's already filled with our candy in it, and one is an empty. And so a lot of you buy the empties, which we include in every order a recipe, and this has always been on our website too.
It is, it is.
And so today we're going to show you guys how we make it, because a few of you have told us it's hard to do.
Yeah, it is hard to do. That's why we make them.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. Now, I want to just put a caveat out there. We don't make the winter bee kinds this way. Like in bulk numbers, our team makes them in a large batch.
Big industrial batches. So
Yes.
it's not the same thing as making them at home on your stove.
It's not.
But many, many years ago, when we first started making them like this is how we did it.
We did.
Here on the stove.
We
but
did.
There's a lot of things, Dave, that people don't know that go into candy making that makes it kind of difficult.
It is.
And some of it is as simple as the temperature.
Yeah.
The humidity.
That's right.
We've got to deal with thermometers, and even altitude can change a recipe.
Exactly. Like right now in this room, the humidity is 44%. And so that's different if you make a batch if the humidity is where it should be. It's so cold outside, but if normally a house is 50 or 60% humidity. So that will change things as well. And I want to show you another thing. And this is something that most people run into, and this is a problem.
Always the number one.
It is. So I'm going to step forward and show you these. If you notice this thermometer, this is the candy thermometer that we use to make sure we reach 248 or 250 degrees. And right now it shows our room temperature of 72. But look at this one. Is it on? Yeah, 75. So these are off. And even though they're candy thermometers, I've even had some that, Sheri, have gone really bad. Some of them can be off as much as 10 or 15 degrees when they start to go bad, because they have a funny little cable, and you can see they get all tangled, and then they have these probes at the bottom.
And they're not cleaned well.
No, I never clean them. But anyway, so you might want to get two of them and see which one is closer. Now, these are two different models. This is a Therm Pro, and this is a Ready Check. And I've had this one, I think, since the day I started making them two decades ago. This is more accurate than that. This one is so old, and it still works so good.
Yeah. That's almost the number one reason why your recipe is not working. It's because of your thermometers. Almost always it's because of your thermometers.
Well, let's get rolling. What do you want to do, Sheri?
All right,
now, I will have to say, we haven't done this, and we may be on the side with you guys that say, this is hard, I can't do it. We may find out it's hard to do on a stove.
Right, because we have an electric stove
We have an electric
and
stove.
we always used gas before.
We always did.
And so there's a problem. If this cooks too quickly, you lose too much of your moisture, making a very brittle product. But if it heats too slowly, I think I said that backwards.
Yeah.
If it heats too quickly, you're not losing enough moisture.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
there you go.
It's too liquidy. But if it heats too slowly, you lose too much of your liquid.
Yeah,
and it becomes a very brittle product. So that's the other difference too. Is the difference between a gas stove and an electric stove. We can't help you with any of those things. We're just telling you the best way we know to do it. But you'll probably have to do a lot of working and experimenting, or going to somebody else's house and trying their stove. Yeah, we're sorry, it's hard. That's why we make them.
That's why we make them. I also, when I was with the team early this year when they started the process of making them all, and we were making some adjustments, and everything has to be just perfect, right? And so we actually timed, Sheri, the amount of time it takes from when you put all the ingredients, the sugar and water together. We will not let it cook. We have to make sure that it reaches 250 in less than 12 minutes.
12 minutes?
Yes.
All right.
Like you're talking about. More than that, it changes it. Less than that, it changes it.
Right.
So,
so have to figure,
so we don't know how this is going to work out.
We're about to see. We're about to see. So we're going to start with 12 ounces of water.
12 ounces
in this pan. The reason why we have such a big pan is because this will start to bubble and foam up.
When we add the other things.
Especially when you put your additives in
That's right.
It will do that. And so we've just always found a pan this big is the best way to do that. So let's turn this on.
You're going to go full power,
I think we're going to go full power
Yep.
on this, and we've got 12 ounces of water.
Following our
in
recipe, yep. 12 ounces of water right off the recipe. It says bring 12 ounces of water to a simmer in a large pot. Now, I'm not a cook, Sheri. Is a simmer a boil or not?
No, not really.
Good. Because when we make them, we don't let the water boil.
Right. So
almost,
if
but it doesn't.
If it's going to start boiling and your phone rings and you walk off to talk to grandma, it's
too hot.
It's not going to work
Yeah, it won't
for
work.
you.
Yeah.
You have to sit here and watch it.
Yeah.
You can't let this water evaporate again. You're going to get a brittle product.
There's not much water in
So,
there, is it?
Not in a big pan like that.
Wow, it just barely covers the bottom.
It does.
On our big industrial sized pans, I think the water is about, I'm going to say 3 or 4 inches off the bottom. It'll be interesting. That won't take long at all. But we'll let it simmer, like Sheri said. Hey, tell us, Sheri, some of the other problems people run into. Can you think of other things when people are trying to make winter pecans?
Well, but believe it or not, sometimes the type of sugar you use can be different. I don't know why that is. Of course, we know there's cane sugar and we know that there's beet sugar. But we've also found different brands will work better than other ones. There isn't anything that we're able to tell you as far as name brands and things like that. Sometimes it feels like it just changes from season to season, from brand to brand.
It does.
So that's another thing that you can try.
Because I've bought some sugar for our big operation that they'll have words like large grain or granulars and small granulated small, granulated large.
Right.
So the grains are certain sizes.
Right, and that can make a difference. But you need to remember it's white sugar.
Yeah.
It's not brown sugar.
No,
it's
don't
not
use
powdered
brown.
sugar.
No, you can't.
It's not raw sugar.
Good point.
It's got to be white sugar. And we do prefer cane sugar here to what we do.
But I've used plenty of beet sugar, and it's worked great for bees, and they do great. I know some people are anti-beet sugar. I get it. Some people are anti-sugar. Yeah, so I know some of you are watching the video and you're thinking, oh, I would never feed my bees sugar. Okay, there's a right way to do things, and there's another right way to do things.
There's tons of right ways to do things.
So just because one way is right and another way is right doesn't make one of them wrong.
And there's a million recipes for this.
This has been around since the 1800s.
It's very possible that this doesn't work for you and you can go find a different one out there. And it's perfectly fine because there's lots of right ways of doing this. But we prefer a cooked sugar solution to just putting sugar out there.
With some water on it.
Because there's enough water to weigh it down.
Because see, this says granulated. So this is essentially crystallized sugar. For a bee to eat, it takes a lot of moisture on here. Did you just say that?
No, I know. I was like, they need to chomp on it.
They don't have good molars either.
Right. So this, when it's done cooking, actually will end up, and you can see now, our moisture is leaving us.
Yep.
And so we're hoping that we need a little bit more of a simmer. It's not quite enough.
Oh, well, I'll say, let's go ahead and add a little bit of the time. This is how I would do it.
Okay. So we got 4 pounds here.
You do the stirring. Yep.
Right.
And so what I like to do in the big operation is while it's doing that, because I think they use big drill devices like a paint stirrer to stir it. And so they'll add a little bit at a time and keep adding more and more and more.
I see. But your sugar has to be dissolved.
It does. It will dissolve.
Same way when you're making 1-to-1 sugar water. Right. It's got to be dissolved.
And when you're reaching 250, it's going to dissolve. Oh, we got a piece of paper off the bag in there. And guess what that will do to the bees, Sheri? Nothing. They will just dodge it. Yeah. It's like eating an apple with a stem in the middle. All right, let's add some more. Yeah, so that's another question. How often should you stir it? How much should you stir it? So I would say you should continue to stir it like Sheri just said. You want it all to be dissolved. So we're adding the sugar in such a way that it's dissolving as the water heats up. And Sheri made a good point in saying, look at the moisture that we're losing. And you wouldn't think you're losing that much water through the moisture, the evaporation, but you really will. So some of you that wind up with really hard winter pecans when you try to make them, it's probably because you're letting them boil too long and it's just evaporating too much moisture out.
It really is. It can't be a brittle product. Bees don't have teeth.
Yeah.
And so part of this in the middle of it becomes a very liquidy substance.
Let me get the other camera and show what it looks like inside.
You've got to completely dissolve it. It will be clear. Just because it doesn't look like granulation any longer doesn't mean that you've got it stirred well enough. It's got to be clear. Do we have all of our 4 pounds in here?
No, about half. You ready for more? I'm going to give you everything.
it's going to work as well on this electric stove.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see.
We're at full power. Let me go to, I think that says high. It's glowing red, but on our gas stove, when we made them, we actually had a gas burner on one side that was called a power burner. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
And so it was like so much gas hitting that pan so quickly that we could heat it up really fast like we wanted to. But yeah, Sheri makes a good point. Not sure how this is going to work out, but I think it'll be fine. We'll just go with what happens. All right, Sheri, there's no reason to stir anymore. I don't think, maybe. I would just let it sit there and get hot. Let me get you something for your spoon. All right, let's tell them what we add to it. So what we're waiting on now is for this to get to 250, and let's show them what we're going to add. Yep, we're going to show you that we're adding a teaspoon of Honey Bee Healthy, a teaspoon of Amino Bee Booster, and right here a teaspoon of Ultra Bee protein.
It doesn't matter. It's just
substitute.
Pollen.
Yeah.
And so people, of course, will say, well, do I have to add all three of these? And so, you know, of course, the bees are bringing in their honey, and they bring in protein all summer long in the hopes that they have enough to get through the winter. We make these as an insurance.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put the same thing in it that you would find in a hive.
As close as we can.
As
Absolutely.
close as we can. So that's why we choose this.
Now,
and then,
I want to say, some people say that you shouldn't give bees protein in the wintertime. But I want to say that protein is in the hive already. It's in the hive in two ways. The winter bees of winter physiology, all of them have the vitellogenesis, the stored protein in their fat bodies, like in their head and their abdomen. They have stored protein. That's what makes them unique. So that's one way they have protein. The second way, they have natural protein that they've gathered from flowers all summer long. And they store that in two ways. They store it as pollen, and they store it as bee bread. And so a hive that, here's the thing, Sheri and everyone, that I get excited about.
we're boiling.
Oh, good. So when bees survive the winter, some people will say, oh my gosh, my bees did so good. I came out of the winter with so many bees. I didn't even feed them or anything. Guess what that means? It means that they had plenty of honey and plenty of protein. People don't realize that. The more I've had small nucleuses, 5-frame nukes, survive the winter with just on protein alone and very little carbohydrate. All right, now you can keep stirring it a little bit. Dang, we're ready to add stuff.
Well,
You don't think so? Oh, we need to measure, don't we? All right, so let's use my handy dandy thermometer that I've used forever and see what temperature we're at.
what's the best way to do this? Do you just kind of dangle it over the top? Do you make it sit on the bottom of the pan?
That's a mistake people make. If you let it touch the bottom of the pan, then it will get the reading off the bottom of the pan. So what I like to do is feel the bottom of the pan and then lift it up just off of the pan.
So you're like right smack dab in the center.
Right in the center.
So we're not on the top.
Right.
We're not at the bottom, but we're kind of right in the middle.
I'm a 1/4 inch off the bottom, 145.
145.
And it reads every now and again, so 221.
All right, so I'm going to put this one in too.
Oh, okay.
So we can look at both of these thermometers and see what they're saying.
I'm at 239, and it takes these a little bit of calibration time. I'd say 15 seconds they pulse. Sheri's at 235, I'm at 239. Now I'm at 246. It's increasing.
So we're almost there.
Yeah.
In that amount of time.
246.
How far off is mine?
You're at 233. You're way down. I'm at 248. So now, Sheri, we're close enough to add everything because it's going to go to 250 fast. So we want to add everything and turn the heat off now because it's still going to have radiant heat.
Oh, so you
I leave it on there? Yeah. Okay. So let's add a teaspoon of everything. All right. Is the green a tea? It's half a teaspoon.
We have always used Honey Bee Healthy products. Sometimes people call these Honey Bee Kinds, but they're winter bee kinds. But we've always used Honey Bee Healthy products. We have always loved them. But you certainly can use other things.
All right. That's 1 teaspoon of protein powder.
And if you choose to use things from other companies, you'll have to call them to talk about it because sometimes they even say, oh, no, you don't want to put this into anything else. So
can you stir this for me? And so now we're going to add the next teaspoon of Honey Bee Healthy. This will cause it to start foaming up a bit more. Now, Honeybee Healthy is designed to attract the bees to eat it. They love it. And here's more protein. Amino Bee Booster is just more protein. All right, there we go.
But ooh, they love it.
I love it.
They love it.
We had a teenager that worked for us a little bit. He was 16 or 17, I think. But anytime we spilt a little bit on a tabletop or the side of a board or something, he always ate it. He loved it.
Now, there are sometimes, as years go by and these start to get holes in them, what do you tell people to do to fix the holes and things?
Yeah, if this surface gets holes in it, you need to use like a metal tape. Just stick it on there, because if it has a tear and the sugar goes down there, the bees will eat up the foam.
Okay.
Is this hot? Do I need little thingies? It's really not. Oh, you should wear eye protection, gloves. I'm going to try it without gloves. Ready? You want to zoom, kind of get that scene here, Sheri? What do you think? Mm-hmm. It's going to hit the pan and spread out.
It's very hot. You are to do everything possible to keep yourself and those around you safe from this heat. These are very hot.
If it gets on you, it will be a bad burn.
Wow, look at that.
Beautiful. So what is with the little areas here? That's just that the protein powder didn't mix well. And you can take a fork or anything, actually. I'm going to grab a fork. And then you can just kind of smash it before it hardens up like this. If you want to spread it around. See, this is still so hot and liquidy. But if you have a big glob of the protein powder, you can do that. But it doesn't mean that it didn't mix everywhere. The protein is in all of the sugar. It's just in some areas, it's more heavily concentrated. That was pretty fast, Sheri. Wow. So what you do now is you just kind of wait for this to get hard. Now also, because it is so hot, you can kind of notice, you want to show that again on your camera, Sheri? You can kind of notice that sometimes the material, the metal material of the Winter Kind board back here, the foam board, might actually kind of bubble a little bit, and that doesn't cause any problems at all.
So this is going to take a while to cool down, because you don't want to run outside and put that in a hive.
No, it takes...
When there's still heat coming off of it. But hey, listen, one thing that we think that people ought to do is, if you make these ahead of time and you're not using them yet, we think you ought to put them in the freezer. You could probably put that in a nice plastic bag, put it in a cold garage or something like that, but you got to keep it away from the bugs. But if you take it out of the freezer, let it thaw out. I'm not sure it'd be such a great idea to put a big frozen block of sugar inside of a hive.
Let it thaw out for 24 hours.
Who knows? I don't know how long
12
it takes,
hours or something.
But you know, you can figure that out.
You can feel it.
But when do you put this on for the first time?
You know, I always start putting them on now, about the first of the year.
This is January.
Yeah.
So we don't really, and this is Central Illinois.
Yeah. It's
about 20 degrees. We don't do that until about January. And one of the reasons is because our bees have got plenty of resources up until then. If your bees don't, there might be a problem bigger than this Winter Bee Kind can actually fix.
That's a good point, because that means they didn't do something they were supposed to do with storing enough resources for summer, which also means they didn't do other things as well. Like maybe they don't have enough brood. You know, they don't have, the queen isn't laying good, so now you got a low number of bees going through winter.
Or if you got really sick bees from mites, viruses.
Yeah, this won't save the bees unless they need more food. Right. It doesn't destroy mites, it doesn't destroy viruses. It's just an insurance plan, like Sheri said, to feed the bees.
And how long does it last?
Boy, that's going to depend on the bees. It depends on how much resources they already have on board, what they're going to, how big they are, what they're going to eat first.
What the temperature is.
Yeah. But I have found, and this is kind of bragging rights for me, and I'll put a little image right here, a video right here. I have found the bees prefer to eat this over their own honey.
I think it's that smell.
I think it is.
That is so enticing.
You put one of these on. Now, another thing I do, once it gets hardened and it's cooled off, that's a good indicator. You can put it on. You know, you can put your hand on it. It's hard. It's not going to burn you. I'll take a little bit of my own honey. I'm talking about a teaspoon. And I'll just dribble it on the hard candy before I put it on. I just think that entices. You don't have to do that. Don't worry about it. But I think it's fun to do that.
Yeah, that's fun. But it's not a one and done thing. I think a lot of times people think that they can put one on in the winter, wrap that hive up, and whoop to Florida. But unfortunately, that's not what it's meant for. It is an insurance policy. You need to keep checking it.
Here's an example. I've got a hive that I've had 7 or 8 years, They're really mean and defensive, and I don't do anything to them, Sheri. Last year, I never opened them one time, so they may not make it. They're still alive. They're too mean to open, but I do put winter bee kinds on them. That colony will eat one of those in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and the other ones, I'll put it on there, and I don't know, it takes them a month to eat one of those.
Yeah, we have you have to keep checking. You have to know that. But, you could always have one ready. And then if you go out there and go, oh my gosh, you've got one.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, you can still whip this off the hive, come inside, do that in 12 minutes, let it cool down, and get it back out there. It's perfectly okay for them to be without it for even a day or two.
Yeah.
Again, if they can't be, there might be a bigger problem
Absolutely.
than this is going to solve.
So another thing, when you change your winter bee kinds or you put them on for the first time, you don't worry about the weather. A lot of people, when they feel like if they open the top up on a cold day, it's going to kill the bees, hurt the bees. It's really not, because it's going to take you less than 30 seconds to put this on.
Exactly.
And they don't heat the inside of their hive like you would your home. They only stay close by clustering together. And so you can just open the top, put that on, and when you change it, this is where a lot of people have problems too, is that some of the candy might be around the edges, outside the cluster. They didn't get a chance to actually eat it all on the outside edges, but you want to change it. But the bees are on that thing working it. What I do is take my smoker, I wear a full suit, and some of the bees will fly out. So I try to smoke as many bees as I can off the old winter bee kind. Then I take my brush and brush the rest of them off.
Just like in an inspection.
And if there's chunks of candy on the top bars in my way of the new one, I'll just pick those up, brush the bees off, and put this one on, put the new one on. The groove on the winter bee kind faces the front of the hive, because they'll use that to take potty flights.
And you can go out there on a day where it's not too windy, but whatever you do, don't inspect that hive.
Don't pull a frame up.
Don't pull frames up or anything like that. All you're doing is changing this. I know that kind of bothers you, but you got to do it. And you just go out and do it.
Absolutely. Well, Sheri, that worked amazing.
It did. That's fantastic.
It was so good. I really think making this video is going to help those that have emailed us and struggled through it, because they got to see kind of what we were thinking, like, let's add all the sugar now that it's simmering good, let's stir it. And I almost forgot to check the temperature, but you said temperature. And so, we were there to watch the temperature, and once my temperature hit 248, which yours was way lower, yours was way off. So anyway, mine was the old standby is perfect. I cut the heat off at 248 because I knew the radiant heat would continue to bring it was coming up to 250 so fast.
Right.
I didn't want to, if I waited to 250 to turn it off and left it on the burner, even though I turned it off, the heat would have taken it to 255 in no time.
So you have to think of those things too. That might be making you off on your recipes.
Exactly.
But it's just 12 ounces of water, it's 4 pounds of sugar, and then we add some additives. We run it up to 250, add some additives, and that's really all there is to it. There's just so many other things that could make it not go right, considering how simple.
And did you see
how simple it is?
And did you see how fast we poured it? We didn't hardly waste any time at all. Once we got the ingredients in, we stirred it, we poured it pretty quick. And the pan itself, most of it came out of the pan, but you can see some in the bottom is already hardened, and that will dilute really easy with some water, but we got most of it poured out of there.
And at some point, if this, as the bees start working it, especially as it gets down, sometimes it will drop off of the insulation onto the top of the frames. Perfectly okay. Closer it is to the bees, the better it is. It is. So it's perfectly great.
It's not a problem. Some people freak out that it's going to fall. Some people actually make these, but they put a 1/4-inch hardware cloth to keep the candy from falling off. But that is so not necessary. Just let the candy be what it is. Let the bees maneuver it. It's only going to fall that much if it does fall off. And I think a lot of times the bees are doing it to get it closer to drop down on the cluster.
Right. Yeah, I think they're doing it.
So let me say, today is January the, 4th or 5th?
5th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my birthday was 2 days ago.
Happy birthday. Now you're 35, aren't you?
Yeah.
So in Illinois, we have all of January, all of February, and all of March that I will continue feeding my bees these winter bee kinds. They will be going through them that much. So I don't know where you live. You may be further south where your winter is going to end earlier. But there's still a lot of winter left. In fact, we're only, a couple of weeks into winter. So we really need to keep feeding our bees. We are still making these. So if you still want to buy one, we put them online when we get batches completed. So if you see that they're sold out, keep checking.
Yeah, Yeah, but we got plenty of the no candy too, so you can do it
Oh, yeah.
yourself, save yourself a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they come out looking kind of dicey, we put them on sale for a lot less price. They work perfectly fine.
Yeah.
They just don't look that great.
Yeah,
Who
we
cares?
might have
The
a
bees don't care.
big notch or a chip or something, but as long as they seal off, the bees don't go in and out, they're fine.
And even if they ship to you and they start to melt, or the shippers get them upside down and it drips here and there, bees will clean it up.
That's pretty typical.
It's perfectly
because we worked so hard to make this perfect for the bees. And so that means it's more liquidy than you would think. It appears hard, but there's still enough liquid in there, coupled with the bees generating liquid in the hive as well, and the heat of the colony. They will kind of melt that sugar water and consume it.
Right.
So it's only been a few minutes, Sheri. Look at that. It's already hardened up so much. Amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
I'm thrilled.
Oh, me
didn't know
too.
This electric stove would work, but it did.
We should start our own business making
these.
making these on the stove.
I used to actually stand in this little kitchen.
Oh, she did.
And I would make these.
And I would bring
in the very beginning.
Yeah, when we were really poor and starting them off, but I would bring those big hand trucks in here, and we would stack like 10 or 20, and I'd take them back out to the shipping room. Yeah, that was a lot of. That's why.
But now we sell them by the thousands, so we can't. I can't stand here in the kitchen any longer.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore.
But we still have it. We still got it, David.
All right, Sheri.
Right.
65 I am, and I still got it. I can still make a winter bee. We should give this away on our live stream.
Let's do that Thursday night. Let's give this one away.
We should autograph it.
That would be great.
Let's do it now.
All right.
That way somebody would know for sure that that's the same one. Do we have a Sharpie in here? All right, so Sheri and I will autograph this one, and we'll give it away on our live stream. Let's do it on the side. Look at that. Live stream is every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. So be sure and watch our live stream coming up, the next one, because you may have a chance to win this one that's autographed that we made at home in our kitchen. You can tell us how much your bees loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you guys watching. It's a very snowy day here. We're just kind of hunkered down here in the cold.
Just sit in front of the fire.
We are. Probably need to put another log on the fireplace.
We can make more of these and heat up the whole house.
We could. Yeah. And I'll leave a link to a video coming up right next after this one. It shows you guys this on the hive and changing it out that I made. So take a look at the video right over here. We'll see you guys over there.